Oh, there's an almond one too. I'm starving.
Okay, so you're going to start at the beginning.
Okay, right at the beginning, I thought would be 2923 2nd Street North, but
No, I'm
Marlene
the
was
oldest
not
of the
born
three
then.
girls, and I was born on 22nd and 2nd Street North. And my grandmother owned some property there, and my mother and dad rented the house from my grandma.
which
That's what
house did
did.
they rent, Mar?
The very end one by the alley.
Where Nellie lived? The
That's where I
Fishers?
live. That's
Oh.
where I live.
She lived by the outhouses.
And we used the outhouses.
They didn't have plumbing,
No.
so there were outhouses right
Yes,
there.
yes.
I don't know how long they lived there. Not
I
long.
lived there for I was born there, and we didn't move until I was 5 years old. And then when I was 5 years old, you were there too, Barbie, Ronnie, because you were born, I think, there.
Oh,
And
I
because
don't
when
know.
we moved,
Yeah.
because I was 5,
So you were a year.
Yeah, I was.
and so
okay.
then we moved to 29th and 2nd Street North. So I didn't move very
Okay.
far, but that's
And which grandparents owned
it was
the house?
On her mother's side.
Yeah,
Your
mother's
mom's
side,
parents?
I know
Yeah.
her name was
Tilly.
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 Tekla, we called her Tilly.
Tilly.
She was first a Petback, and she married a Schlepback. He's the one who actually owned the property. And he needed, her first husband died, and so she had to remarry because she needed someone to help take care of her children. And his wife had died, and he needed someone to take care of his children. So they got married. And then between them, they did have 3 more children.
Yeah.
So, but when the property was sold, after all was said and done, the property, which amounted to several houses, then that was divided amongst
Boys.
his boys and his other family. Not Jenny,
Not your mom's kids.
not George, not Annie,
Not
your
not
mom's
Mitchie. Right.
You know, I guess I didn't realize that, but he owned that property.
He owned that property.
Oh.
So your mom's siblings, full siblings, were
Her and
It was
George.
George, Annie, and Mike were siblings from the same mother and father. And then Josie and Joey and Helen were siblings only half. That was the second husband. And
So they're just half brothers.
Right. And
sisters.
Grandma lost
one
one
that
child.
one child. So-
Yeah.
And she came here from Poland, and she had 2 boyfriends over there, and she had to make the decision as to which one was going to come here to marry her. And they came here, but Grandma lived at first in Weyerhaeuser, Wisconsin, and I really think my mom and the other kids, I think they were born in Weyerhaeuser, Wisconsin, not here in Minnesota.
Well, that could be.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so, because Mother always talks about being 16. And she didn't like it because the 2 older boys from the second husband, she had to do all the work, ironing their shirts. So,
Yeah.
but
Well, Grandma came here and then married one of the.
from the first husband, yeah. the
No,
first
but I mean,
boyfriend.
yeah, the first boyfriend. Or one
She
of the
sent
boyfriends.
for him from
Yeah.
Oh,
Poland.
okay.
And they
she
rented
came here
all
with
that.
her parents?
Pardon me?
She came here with her parents?
No.
Or-
I think she came alone.
Yeah.
She could not speak a word of English.
Never
Really, we
did.
never could communicate with our grandma.
Oh, I could.
She could.
She talked Polish.
She tried. She stumbled around in Polish.
Not very much, but
And, well, she was the oldest grandchild.
yeah.
So she was around her more, but we more or less just had to,
Grandma just always taught
She
me
had to-
donuts.
she had to try to understand our English.
Yes.
So I always had to say
Yeah.
donuts.
It was a fun,
And Mother and Dad loved going out on Saturday and Friday and Saturday night. And one night they left me alone. And I got up on a chair, and I really remember this. I pulled a little lock back on the door. I opened the door. You had to run past very dark 2 other houses that Grandma owned, to Grandma's house, knocked on her door, and she let me in. And when Mother and Dad came home and seen I wasn't there, my mother said, "Mikey, you go get her." I remember that. I remember them coming to get me, but I do remember opening that door.
nowadays they'd be put in jail.
I know.
And how old were you? So
yes.
you were less than 5.
Yes.
And Grandma had a very interesting, those houses she owned were very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
4 up to the alley.
And a big
Yeah.
barn, kind of a garage
Yeah.
barn on the end.
And she had a nice big
Yes.
garden, fenced-in garden with a big apple tree.
Oh, yeah.
It was
in the
neat.
front of her house.
Yeah, it was,
It was on the
it
side.
was a very nice, it was a fun garden.
A gate we swung on.
Yeah.
It was made out of wood and we used to swing on the
Yeah.
gate in the garden. Great
know.
apple tree.
And those houses, remember the one upstairs? Haha used
Haha lived there.
Haha used to
That was his
live
name.
there.
In those days, everybody had a nickname.
Yeah.
Schmidrock. I mean, ha
Yeah.
ha. I mean,
He was an old man.
Never knew his name.
I don't even know anything about him except he'd go up the stairs and down the
Yeah.
stairs.
And they called him ha ha because that's what he always did. Anything you said to him, he said ha ha ha.
Yeah.
That's why we
And
called
then
him.
and then the other ones were Nellie. Nellie lived
Fisher.
until, was that after Auntie Dote and Auntie Dote lived in that house?
Auntie Dote and Uncle George lived in the one next to Grandma. And then on the end, Nellie lived, that's where I lived. Then Nellie lived in there.
Oh, okay.
And Nellie was Auntie Dote's, my Uncle George's wife. Nellie was Dote's mother.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's, you
It
know,
was a very interesting whole area there. And then there was one little house off to the side, and our Auntie Annie Cooklock and Uncle Albert, they bought that house.
and Auntie Annie was mother's sister.
Yeah,
With
and
gray
that's,
shingles
and
on
that's
it.
where they raised their family.
Mhm.
Because those girls went to school at Hawthorne and Franklin. And so whenever we went to Grandma's house, our cousins Patty and Judy, and David later on, were
Was like
always
all
there.
there.
That's why we've always been
Been
super
so
close
close.
with
Yeah.
Patty and Judy because
Yeah.
they were always there.
And you have to remember, we didn't have refrigerators. We always had to go to Franklin Creamery and get ice for Grandma. Was the ice that the milkmen delivered their stuff, and the ice was about that big.
Yeah, we go
And
there.
so we go get the ice so Grandma could fill up her ice box.
Ice box, not a
Yes.
refrigerator, ice box.
And then the
we used to love going over there because then the guys used to give us free popsicles and
Yeah.
Cheerios, Dreamsicles, all those
Franklin
free
Creamery
things.
was a big part of that area.
It was
down
the
there.
place to roller skate.
It was a nice big area. We had a fun time going over there. It was always good memories.
And all those houses, Grandma's houses and all of the ones she owned on the avenue, none of them had paint on them. They were all that black, original wood. They did
Well,
not
and they didn't have coal
any
bins
paint.
either. The one house, the truck would pull up and the coal would go right into the middle room.
Oh,
man.
the house.
That was
Yeah.
Fred and Tony
Oh.
Fisher.
I remember.
It went right into the room, the whole
Well, that's
room.
what we know about our grandma, Shopek.
Yeah.
Our grandma Wicherski, we don't know too much about her except she come from Little Falls, Minnesota.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was born in the United States.
Yeah, she was born here. And she didn't really speak Polish.
No, no,
No, she spoke just English.
Mm-hmm.
And,
and I'm the oldest, but I don't.
But
And
she
our-
lived by Grandma Shopek.
Oh yes.
She lived on Washington
Yeah,
upstairs in that
Washington.
duplex.
Yeah.
And that's probably how our parents met. Because she lived there and Grandma Shopek lived here.
But
Yeah.
Daddy was born over in St. Anthony. That's where he went to school.
Well, yeah, nobody was raised over there on 22nd.
Oh, okay, and then
you
as he
know.
grew up, yes.
Yeah, so that's where, she, like I said, they came from Little Falls, I remember that, but, and she was married to, her husband, not very long, because he died,
Oh, he was about 52
Theodore?
or so.
yeah, his name
Theodore
was
He was
Ted.
a wonderful.
Theodore and
sensitive-
Constance.
Yeah, just a wonderful
Wicherski.
man.
Wicherski.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's who it was.
wonderful. He was a gentleman, just a wonderful.
And in all honesty, our grandma Wicherski was not a pleasant woman. I don't know if this should be on tape or not, but
Well,
Of
she
course it
was.
should be.
Well, she was.
she was
I mean, I can go when Mom and Dad went over there and played 500 with Grandma. I had to sit in that rocking
chair.
chair and not move, and that's where I sat. But Grandpa always offered me a bottle of orange pop. Not Grandma, but Grandpa always did.
Mhm.
Well, with Grandma Taylor, Grandma Shopek having 2 husbands, and then Grandma Wicherski with 1 husband, they were all gone before I was born. So I
Yeah.
don't ever remember a grandpa that
No.
passed away before.
I really don't either, Barb. I
So
think
You really only remember Grandma Shopek.
Grandma Shopek and Grandma Wicherski.
Oh, and
Grandma
Wicherski.
Wicherski died in the nursing home just before her 102nd birthday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
she lived a
And she was still
long
flirting
time.
with the reporter.
With the cameraman that
Yeah.
come to the nursing home on her 100th birthday, and when she seen how cute he was, and he was, all she could do was, so she still knew all about that at 100 years old.
And Grandma Shobek didn't really last. She died
died
about
young.
75 probably. She was a very frail woman.
She had
Grandma
cancer.
Wicherski was big.
Tiny, yeah, Grandma Wicherski
And
was
she had
big.
cancer. She died of cancer.
She lived at our house for a while because I remember when I graduated from high school, Grandma was at our house at the time. Each child was taking time to take care of her. And at the time I graduated from high school, she was at our house. But right shortly after that, she went into a home. And she didn't last much
No,
longer.
a couple
after that.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah, then she passed away. So
Because already I had Greg. Greg was about 3 years old, I think, when
Yeah.
when Grandma was at Mom's house.
and then when we moved to 2nd Street, I would say
See, I was 5.
I wasn't born, but Barb, I remember you being
You
born.
were
I remember
born. I think
Mother
you
standing
were.
in the living room
I do too.
and couldn't wait for Dad to get home to take her to the hospital.
Oh, is
Navy blue maternity outfit with little white somethings on it.
And our mother was a baby, so it was really, really, she was probably thought she was
She had a
dying.
very low pain.
But didn't when she got older, it was
No.
very high.
Yeah,
I think that's because I think Mother basically was very healthy.
yeah. So then
I think she
she,
was very healthy.
and that's when Barbara was born.
But I was born in the good times. We had running water, electricity.
Yeah, it was a nice house that we had on 2nd Street.
And when Barb was born, how old were you, Marlene?
I was already
10.
10.
And you were how old?
6.
6.
Yeah, I was 6.
I do not remember growing up with Barbara at all. Nothing. I was very, very little. I don't
And you were
remember
10
at
years
all.
old, you can almost remember her as a baby coming into the house.
I know, but I
Where
just,
did they
yeah,
put us? There was no room in that house.
yeah,
Upstairs.
I just don't remember.
We didn't use the upstairs at that time.
Sure we did. You and I slept together on
Well,
one
I know, but
bed,
that was
and Mara
when
slept
you
in
weren't
the
a
other
baby,
one.
though.
yeah.
I mean, when you were a baby.
Well,
It was
we were
a-
in, hey, we were in Mom's, you and I were in Mother's bedroom because Dad used to get me so scared. Inner Sanctum used to be on the
Oh, the
radio on
squeaking
Sunday night. And one night, we slept right in their room with them, Ronnie.
I bet we did.
And my dad, on Inner Sanctum, they have a door that squeaks. And my dad did that, and I remember how scared I got.
Yeah.
And oh, Pa. That was my,
Yeah.
oh, Pa.
Well, it was a,
So then Barbara came along, but we did sleep in that bedroom pretty long, Ronnie.
it was a one-bedroom house. To us, it seemed like a mansion
Yeah.
because it had a big living room and a big dining room.
Mm-hmm.
And our kitchen was good size.
Well, it held a kitchen set. It was
Yeah.
small.
Yeah, but it was good. It was
We
not-
had a front porch,
but one bedroom.
one bedroom, one
And then we
closet.
Yeah.
slept in the front porch. You and I slept
Yeah,
in
we
the
might
front
have, and
porch.
then eventually we'd move upstairs
Then Dad
and
fixed
and
the
Dad
upstairs.
fixed the upstairs and we
They made the attic into a bedroom.
With like this. The bed you
Yeah,
had
you
to
know,
walk like
yeah,
this
yeah.
when you went up there.
And see, 'cause
No
we were-
heat.
all 3 of us were sleeping up there. I do remember that because
Yeah,
I was
I
dating.
remember.
I was dating Rick.
Yeah, we had two.
And
Ronnie and I slept together and you
Yes.
had the
Yeah, we had two big
because
beds
when
up
I'd
there.
come home from a date, they'd be sleeping, and Ronnie has this habit. When she sleeps, she does not shut her eyes. And so I used to go up to her and go click click.
Yeah. The fun thing about that upstairs, remember we had a register. That
Register,
was
you
where
could
the
look
heat
down
came
at the
from.
dining room.
So, as young kids, when Mom and Dad would have company, because they used to like to play cards and they'd play poker.
Poker,
Right underneath that was the dining room table.
Yeah.
And we would just sit and look down that register all the
And
time
watch them.
and watch them play cards.
And when Mama used to wrap the Christmas presents on the dining room table, she'd send me up to the room so I wouldn't see what she was wrapping. Whoa. I looked in the register and watched everything she wrapped.
Yeah. So those were fun days. And the yard was a fun yard.
It was a lot and a half.
Yeah, it was a
big
lot
yard.
and a half at one time. Dad had made an ice rink out of it for us,
Yeah.
and that was fun. He built us a big playhouse.
Oh, huge.
Yeah, it was a big, it was
playhouse.
a 12 by 12 probably.
Oh, I think it was bigger
He built
than
me a
that.
smaller one at the other house.
Oh, okay, and it was a all screened in little house.
He used to sleep out there
Yes,
sometimes
he did.
in
I
the
think
summertime.
I
It was a
just-
sofa, like a leather
Screened
vinyl
in.
sofa. And when it was
How
hot, he used to
did,
sleep
how
out
did we
there.
protect it from the elements? Did
It
you?
didn't. It was just screen on the top
I know,
and
it
wood
didn't
on the
have
bottom.
anything that
Had
dropped
any-
down.
No, I don't think it did.
That's the one thing I don't remember.
No.
And in all honesty, I don't remember playing in it that much. Do you? It had a little cupboard.
Just remember it, but I remember more when it was torn down.
Yeah, we just didn't use
I
it that
remember
much that
that.
I remember. He was good at building a double swing.
Oh,
Swing was
yes.
always fun. And there's a
He
big,
was a
swing.
wonderful woodworker.
there was
He
a
built-
big swing in the backyard that,
Rope swing.
yeah, that rope swing was.
Oh, see, that's the story I have to tell. My dad, Mike, he built the cabinet for Grandma Stroback at this time. And she was a bootlegger. And she sold
You have to
them.
explain what bootlegging is. I told Katie about moonshine yesterday, and she's, what's moonshine?
Oh, see, and they sold alcohol, moonshine, illegally. My grandma did.
They didn't make it, really.
No,
No.
she bought it
Yeah.
from, I think, from her sister. Now, I can't remember for sure that Grandma had a sister, but it seemed to me she did have a sister. I know she had two brothers, Stanley and Joe, but I can't remember. But they, anyway, Dad had a secret compartment in the back of the cabinet where Grandma stored her illegal moonshine. And so one day, Joey, her son, my uncle, came to get me at St. Philip's School. And he said, you have to come home with me because the Deeks, the police, took Grandma to jail.
Caught for bootlegging.
Got caught for bootlegging, and my mother had to go and take care of the family. So I don't remember how long we were there, but I remember that. So I thought, well, how come he'd come in to take me home? And now we have to walk home from St. Philip's. It was.
Sure, because our mom Grandma used to put it and pour it in little pint jars.
Yeah.
And then Mom used to take the wagon around.
No,
and
she didn't. I
sell
don't
it for-
remember
Oh,
that.
Mama said that. Mama told me that. And she used to pull a wagon around and sell it for 2 bits a bottle.
Because if she'd have got caught, she'd have gone to jail too.
Well, then she was a kid.
Oh.
Grandma probably thought better her than
Because
me.
when
They
she
won't
was
do anything.
Grandma, when she was married, we had 2 steady customers when
On 2nd Street.
on 2nd Street. I
29th.
mean, when I was younger, she
Yeah.
had 2, Mike Murray and George Zimmerman, and they came every single day for their half pint
To your grandmother's.
to my mother's.
No,
to
to
your
my
mother's.
mother's.
Every day on 29th and
It
2nd
was just
Street.
a shot. They just came in.
Oh, no. It was
Oh.
Mama's little bottle, half pint bottle, with the
Okay.
newspaper and his glass, both guys. And,
You would
but when
think-
they came, my mother always shooed me out. She always says, get out of here.
You'd think neighbors would really wonder what our mother had
2
going
men.
on.
Yes. And they were there for how long?
The bottle was gone.
I don't know how
Sure, they
long.
were there a half hour, 20 minutes, half hour, because they read the paper. Mother had the newspaper for them. So.
She had all these little amenities for them.
My mother would do
Booze
anything.
and a
And I
She would
think
do
all she got
anything
was
for a
50
little bit of
cents.
money.
Yeah, she did. She,
Yes.
she was
She liked
very,
money and she'd do anything for a little
she
bit of
was
money.
very, very frugal.
But one thing about our growing up with Grandma Schobeck and that, it was interesting compared to the other family, but we were always talking about the Deeks.
Yeah.
Oh.
They were
Always.
always, the Deeks are coming.
Oh yes, because
I mean,
Daddy,
to us little kids, it was scary.
my mom already lived on 2nd Street,
Yeah.
and we used to have a little back porch in the backyard, and you could see the arc light on the corner in the street. And Mom and Dad used to drive the old Model A, and speeding, drunk, whatever rules they had then, and the cops, the Deeks, would chase them. So
Yeah.
Daddy would hurry up, turn the headlights off, pull into the yard, rush into the garage, close the garage door shut, and stand on the porch and watch the Deeks under the arc light, wonder where in the heck they went.
Yeah.
Now if our kids did that, we'd
Well, like I say, it was scary for us though, really, for young kids, it was scary.
I thought it was interesting.
He told me a story once when he was being chased by the police in his Model A. And he had something hooked up in his garage where he could take the top off of
Probably.
the car, where he had it, he hooked it up and he could hoist it up so the car looked like it was not working in two pieces.
Oh.
So when I came.
Yeah, I'm sure he was very creative in that respect.
Yes.
First of all, he wouldn't have had to do it if he wasn't causing any trouble.
Yes.
But he was young and full of the
Oh,
dickens.
sure.
And then when Rick started coming over,
I hated
Barbie
him.
was really, really scared of Rick. But one day,
How old were you when you started dating him?
15,
And where did you meet him?
in high school at a Wiener Roast. And Rick was really an avid roller skater. He spent a lot of time up roller skating. I didn't. We fought about that a lot. But
About the AMP.
yes, about the AMP.
Grocery
on West
store
Broadway.
in North Minneapolis.
Yes, he had his own skates. He really was very.
He was a good
into it.
dancer,
Yes,
so
he
he was a
was.
good skater.
And one mother sent for a Chrissy doll for Barbara.
Oh, no, it was popsicles.
Or it might have been
Popsicle
popsicles,
Pete. We saved the wrappers.
but it was a
Yes.
little doll.
Yes.
And when Rick came to see me, the mailman had put it in between the door. And he picked it up, he brought it in and handed it to her. She thought that was from Rick, and he became
Loved him
instant
ever
friends.
since.
Yeah.
He's not bad.
And Dad's original seen him walking up to the door, and he said, "Oh my God, a wop." Oh, he said, my dad. I said, "Dad."
And what does that stand for?
Huh?
What does that stand
What's
for?
a what?
Oh, a wop, Italian.
Italian.
An Italian. It's
I went with an Italian fellow in high school, and Dad used to call him spaghetti.
He had a name for everybody.
Yes.
yeah.
He loved nicknames.
Yes, he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
And what was his name?
Who?
Your dad. What was his?
Mike.
Oh.
Michael John Wicherski.
Oh,
But we really everybody called him Mike or Mikey.
Yeah.
Mikey.
And he had nicknames too, because I was Bubs for a long
Yeah.
time until my drunken uncle came over one day and said, "Hi, Boobs." And my mother said, "Nobody will call her Bubs again."
Yeah.
Uncle Joe Shuda.
Yes, it was Uncle Joe.
Yeah,
Yes, it was.
I did not have a nickname.
No, me neither.
Oh, the longest name of all, and I never had a nickname.
I didn't either.
They didn't call you Ronnie.
Not
No.
till
She
high
always called- I
school.
remember-
I
I was
had a
calling you
very
Veronica.
difficult time with calling her Ronnie, though. I really did. As
Mine
I-
never did.
Ricky still doesn't.
Yeah,
No, Ricky still doesn't call me Ronnie.
yeah, it was, not our time.
Mother
you know.
didn't call you Ronnie either.
It was
It was
Veronica.
Verani.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the way my aunts do it too. My aunts call me Verani with a V.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of okay.
It was more her sports people and your bowling friends, all
It all started at when I was about a senior in high school.
Yes.
Is when I got my nickname. When I started playing softball, they said that's too long of a name. We got to give you a nickname. So then I got a nickname from that point on.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to back up one little bit about our old house. I thought it was interesting that maybe the kids wouldn't know anything about this, but we didn't have furnaces like we have now. We had old big furnaces that the coal men had to come and shoot the coal.
Dad had a special place for the coal
Into
in
the coal
basement.
bin.
Yeah, we
Not
had
into the
coal.
living room.
No.
No, it was in the
coal
basement.
bin, and they'd come and shoot the coal down the window
Mm-hmm.
into the basement. And then, of course, every night, Dad would have to go down there and stoke up that
Or
fire.
Mama, because I
Or
used to
Mom,
go down
yeah.
with Mom.
Yeah, stoke up the fire for the night.
Yeah.
And I don't know when we eventually got a furnace.
And that was when Rick.
Yeah, Rick
when
did it.
and I got
Because
married.
we didn't have a hot water heater either.
No.
The house.
No, that was a long time. I was very old.
The
But
hot
we
water
still
heater
only
was-
had cold running
Yeah.
water, and when we used to take a bath only on Saturday nights.
And we shared the water.
Shared the water. She was first. She was second. I was third in the tub. I had the really dirty water.
But I'm sure that wasn't unusual in those days.
But we had hot water if we had a fire going in the furnace because there was a tank there. And that when the furnace was
that
on,
little
it heated
thing.
it heated that water.
Otherwise, Mother heated it on the stove because
Big pails.
she used to have one kettle already warm so that when she washed our hair in
Yeah.
the tub, the last thing she did was pour this bucket over our head of warm water to
Right.
rinse the
Yeah.
soap out of your hair and
Yeah,
scream
but when
like
Rick,
crazy.
when
'cause
I met
hated it.
Rick, he was into plumbing and heating. That was when Mother got a furnace, hot water heater, and got.
Oh, was heaven. Oh, I did. The only thing nice about the coal bin was on a hot summer day, of course we had no air conditioning back then, the coal bin was a separate room in the corner of the basement, and all that was in there was a window to the outside where the coal
To
came
dump the
in.
coal in.
Yep, and it just filled up and used to just shovel it right into the things. But it was cold. It was cold in that room because of the coal. And on a hot summer day, I used to take that little white chair that Dad made for us and go into the coal bin, close the door, and sit in there.
You're kidding.
All the time.
Barbara did, I didn't do that.
See, I never liked heat even back then.
Yeah, she did that.
And what did your dad do for a living?
Sapphire.
He was he was a box. He worked at the Flower City Wooden Box. When he started there, he drove truck for many, many, many years, and he delivered pop cases to like Nesbitt's. And then after a while, when he got off of the truck, he was taught how to sharpen saws, and so he became a saw filer and kept the saws sharp for the people that a lot of my uncles worked at the Flower City Wooden Box. My Uncle George worked there, my Uncle Mikey worked there, my Uncle Albert worked there. So a lot of the family worked there.
And they did
It was
pop
a big-
cases, that was it.
Yeah, it was a big bandsaw about the size of the table here
Yes.
with teeth.
And
he
table
had to
conversation
sharpen.
then at our house was Dad's boss, who was Jewish,
Old
So-
Man Blimmen.
Old Man Blimmen. When we had supper at home, and Dad, we had the same time every night. Dad imitated Old Man Blimmen in a Jewish voice. That's what he did.
Every night.
We had to hear what went on during
It
the
was Val, damn it, Michael.
Never knew his name. We only knew him as Old Man Blimmen.
That's what it was. It was a fun time.
It was fun. We used
It
to
was
love
fun.
to listen to his stories.
Yeah.
There was always good dinner, we kids, but it was nice dinner conversation.
And
about
then
my
when you
dad's
bring
job.
home, because it was all pop cases, well, we had Oh So Grape.
Oh, so great. My favorite pop.
Because sometimes when he delivered the boxes, then he got to pick up some of the older pops, so then he'd bring it home.
Oh So Grape.
Oh, so great. That was just, I can even picture the bottle written in white. Oh, so great. Oh, it was delicious.
Yeah, yeah, but he probably worked for how much an hour? Well, when he retired,
He was
He
only
was-
making $5 something.
yeah, when he retired, he was making his $5 and something.
And so his the carpentry and woodworking was a hobby of his.
It was a
Yes.
hobby.
But he did it well. He did
He was
so
quite
much
talented.
woodwork. He was wonderful. He did all the fencing around our houses, and he just did a lot of woodwork. And
He had a lot of talent too,
Yes,
Marge.
yeah.
He could play music. He'd pick
By
up an
ear.
accordion and play it. He played the
Piano,
He had big,
bones.
big
Mouth
stubby
organ.
fingers.
Yeah.
Mouth organ.
Oh, Mother bought him a really expensive mouth organ, which ended
And-
up at our house and into the pocket of my daughter, who lost it on the way home from school.
Yeah, it was really, and pretty much he'd do that on a Sunday.
Mhm.
He'd play one or the other instruments
Yeah.
and
He did.
Sit down at a piano
he
and plunk
just-
out a tune.
And over his mistakes, he would just go right over it. But,
Yes.
I mean, he was really quite talented
Talented,
because he
yes.
could also do electricity if he wanted to, because he was offered a job with an
Yeah.
electrician, but
Neat
Mother was
peppercorn.
afraid.
Oh, that was.
Mother was very afraid to
That
make a
was
change.
That was unfortunate.
It
My
was
dad
hard, though,
really
because,
had
you
to do
know,
that.
They did go through the Depression. I don't remember it.
Well, I remember Mother being down to her last dime, and I remember Dad.
But Dad always had a job.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he did,
He
but
always
it was tough. Mom walked all the way on to West Broadway to buy nickel for a pound of hamburger at Tyson's. I
Yeah.
remember that. It was tough. It was.
We always had good food on the table.
Mhm.
And then
We
when
was a
there
Good
was,
cook.
there was
Yeah.
a very big strike, union strike, labor strike. It would have probably been, I was little yet, but they were all arrested, the picketers, and that was the only time I remember my dad was in jail. And he was
Well, I
arrested
hope
for
so.
picketing. Yeah.
So time he got caught.
That was the first time.
Yeah, I think it was the only time.
Yeah.
Met Grandma in there.
Yeah. And as far as our aunts and uncles on that family too, they were all a lot of fun. We had a lot of
Oh.
parties.
And the
Best
depression was tough
relatives.
because Uncle Mikey got picked up for stealing coal.
We sound like we got a bunch of jail.
I know, but he got, he
Oh,
got
what's
sent,
that?
and as a matter of fact, it was just an anniversary for it. He was sent to CC camp.
Oh,
That was a
Yeah.
Youth Conservation Corps. Because I remember I was little, and I went out to see him
Yeah.
with
it's called
Mama.
juvie now.
Yeah, they had no uniforms. I mean, they got to Rome, but they picked up a trade. But I remember Uncle Mike being out there.
Well, we had a lot of parties and concertinas and accordions.
Sunday
and-
afternoons.
Yeah, they love
Go to
to
King's
party. They
Court.
love to party. They love to dance. We have many. I'm gonna cry. Well, the memories were wonderful.
Yes,
They
yeah.
were wonderful.
Yes.
Yes, they were.
Yes, we just.
Sunday afternoons in the summer on the yard. and-
Yeah.
Oh.
I think the Zelniks always envied us. I mean, 'cause
Yeah,
we
as big
really,
of a family as they had.
they didn't
We just
have
had
it
the three of us, but we had those aunts and uncles that were always
close.
close.
Very
Yes.
close. Still
Well,
are.
actually, the Zelniks were as close to us, and they knew our aunts and uncles and all of our cousins.
They came to our weddings. We went to their
Yeah.
weddings. The relatives.
Yeah, so they were a big part of our life.
Yeah.
Because there were those two houses side by side. Across the street was an empty lot that eventually built up a big building, Standard Iron and Wire Works.
Best roller skating place.
Yeah, that's
On
right,
their
because
sidewalk.
they had a new sidewalk.
Before it was built, though, it was nothing but a great big hill,
So
and
we-
I tried skiing, and I did ski down that hill.
Yeah, it was good for skiing.
Because the river was down one more block.
Yeah,
then.
we were close by the Mississippi River.
On the
Yeah.
railroad. I've been by the railroad all my life.
Yeah, yeah, so that was.
And the incinerator, which I just told her that we used to stand and watch down that fiery pit. And she
It
says,
was
you
a-
used to get that close to
I
that?
can't
It was the most
believe-
dangerous thing that we were, that's where all the city garbage was dumped.
Yeah.
Chris,
And
this
the
was a
trucks used to
huge
back into
open-
that pit of fire, which was a huge pit the size of this room, and the trucks would dump their garbage in, and we stand on the edge and watch them
Yeah,
burn.
it
I can't believe
Wasn't
that
that
she
awful?
did
Never-
it. My mother would have known that, she'd have had a heart attack. I would have had a heart attack.
She would now to
Well,
think
when
about
you're
it.
8, 9, 10, you have no fear.
I know it.
No, that's
Oh,
frightening.
Yeah, well, and we all, did you work at Cabin Drug?
I worked at Cabinet Door.
We all worked at Cabin Drug, that was on 29th in Washington.
Yeah, we all worked there.
And
For 50 cents an hour.
we all had
Shock. We all got almost electrocuted there.
On the malted milk
Malt machine
machines.
and the
Yeah.
stainless steel counter.
yeah, we all worked there, and we were just talking about it the other day at a party where, you know, at that time, the Kotex boxes, oh, you would not just go in and pick up a box of Kotex, heaven forbid.
Oh.
So we, as workers, had to sit back there and wrap them in brown paper.
Time
That's
with red
right.
string. And then put them on the shelf so nobody knew what they were.
As if nobody knew what was in these brown packages.
I mean, that was.
That's when Bobby Zelnick said, I worked there too, and I used to wrap those, and I didn't even know what they were.
I know it, and so we all had our turn at working at Cabin.
He gave everybody a start in the
He
neighborhood.
really did, because his Zelniks all worked there too.
He was the
and
pharmacist, he owned it.
And how
Yeah.
far away from your house was that?
Block,
About a block. We had a yard we could cut through.
the shortcut.
Yeah, there was a shortcut that went right to Washington, and right there was Cabin Drug.
Yep, I worked 6 to 10 at night
Yeah.
until high school found out I was working till 10, and they called Mr.
Said
Cameron
you
and
can't.
said that you can't work till
Well,
10.
by golly, there were some rules.
Yeah. Oh, yes, yeah,
Yeah.
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 But, and then we worked with Bobby Zelnick and Molly Zelnick and I. We worked on Saturdays to clean. We cleaned all the fountains and cleaned. And then about noon on Saturday together we'd say, well, I sure could go for a hamburger from Valentine Bill's. Was Valentine?
Hamburger Bills.
I know.
Oh.
And so, and then Mr. Cameron, of course, took the hint and gave us money to go down and have a hamburger. It was very special.
Oh, those were the best hamburgers
Yes.
in the world. We
Yeah.
used to, when we went through the shortcut, if you went to the left, it was Cabby's, the drugstore, we call it Cabby's. And then to the right down a couple blocks was Hamburger Bill's, this little old man that just had a little couple stools and a
Delicious.
oh, he made the best hamburgers in town. But we wanted malted milks and hamburgers. That was the thing, had to be a malted milk. And we didn't have to-go containers in, like plastic or paper or that. Mother used to have to wash out like mayonnaise jars.
Yes, we did.
And then she would run to Hamburger Bill's to get the hamburgers, and I would take the clean mayonnaise jar to Cabby's and say, fill it up with the malted milk. They'd make it and then pour it in my jar, and I'd go take it home and meet you there with the hamburgers, and we'd have hamburgers and malted
Yeah,
milk.
that's what we had.
We got a little more modern as it went on.
That's the
'Cause
early
then we went
stages of
to-
McDonald's.
We went to, no, we went to, Perel's.
Perel's.
Perel's. And we
I
got-
don't remember.
And right next door was White Castle.
Oh,
So we had White Castle right there for hamburgers, and the malted milk's next. It was like a big Bridgman's, but it was called Perel's. And so then we would bring that home. Mother wanted pineapple malts.
I have to throw in one thing about my life too, and that is I did work on the truck farm,
Oh yeah, you did.
which was just beyond that incinerator that we're talking about. They were located right on the Mississippi River. That's where their farm was. And they had some fields there, and of course the sheds for, we bunched onions. Oh,
you always smelled like an onion all summer
I
long.
did.
Every
Not
summer
even
she
that.
smelled
I
like an
started
onion.
before school was out, you know. I was in 9th grade, and I would go after school and green onions. You'd peel these onions and you'd bunch them just like you see in the stores. And we had to do all those onions, clean them and bunch them. And then how do you get the smell off your hand? You can't. Now I go to school the next day and we had double desks.
I remember
And the
that.
girl next to me says, boy, I smell onions, don't you? No, I don't. Well, that was
Yes.
embarrassing. I don't know how I got over that. I didn't. I suppose I kept doing it
I
because
remember us talking about that.
I loved working on that truck farm. It
She
was
worked
a
there
lot
longer
of
than any of
fun.
us,
Through
yeah.
the summer, we would.
She always
He
worked.
had fields
I
in
worked
Medicine Lake.
Well, I worked one
He
day,
had
cried, and went
fields.
home.
Yeah, we had fields in Anoka. We
Yes.
would get picked up in a big truck.
Truck.
You'd haul in the back of that big, not an
Yeah.
open truck, big truck. Oh my
Right.
God, we were like
Right.
slaves almost.
It was, but now Steele's I wasn't old enough to work on Steele's farm by
No.
the house. They already had sold that when
Yeah.
I got old enough to work
Yeah.
on the farm, and that's when they moved to Anoka. And I worked one day, and I weeded all day. That was the longest day of my entire life for
Yeah.
$2.25, and I never went back. I hated it. But we used to go to a bean farm and pick up that. Ours was an open truck, and they used to come right to the corner of 29th and Lindale, just sit there, and any kids that wanted to go to work for the day would hop on this truck. So I used to go with Daryl and Dickie and that and pick
Yeah.
green beans
That was better.
for 75
That
cents
wasn't
a
Steel-
bushel. And
that
then we
wasn't
used to
Steel's,
put the
no.
green beans in the
I worked
bushel.
at 3
And then
farms.
we turned the bushel basket upside down into another basket so they would puff up a little bit more so it looked fuller, so we didn't have to pick so many. And then we go bring it up to the guy and he would mark our name with a marker.
You got paid by the
And then he
bushel.
would push down on those beans. Go pick some more.
Yeah, we got paid by the bushels and the
Yeah.
Well, you could go every day if you wanted.
weeding
some
was
extra
tough.
money.
That was
That
the
was
worst thing. Weeding was the worst because we did radishes. We bunched radishes, we bunched onions. Mostly that's what we did. And it was Herb and Mary Steele that owned the farm. And as a matter of fact, they lost one little boy. They never know if he went into the river or went into that incinerator. They never did find his body. He was just like a toddler at that time.
Which now kind of ended up to be a relative of yours. I mean,
Well, I know, as it turned out, they had a son, Pat and Jackie. Good looking kids. Heartthrob. All those years I worked on that
Yes.
truck farm. But he always had a girlfriend. Marlene was her name. And so, but he was still always a heartthrob. Whenever he'd come and play with the boys, Zelenak boys, oh. And then what
Good
happens?
looking.
My sister-in-law marries him. Ginger married him.
Yeah.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
No, but Ginger, I thought, oh. Yeah, no, Ginger, I mean, it was one of those things. He was still married to Marlene, I believe. I mean, they were divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And Ginger and Pat were seeing each other, and I had no clue. But then one day I heard that that's who Ginger was seeing, and they ended up getting married. So I thought, well, honest to God, now he's part of the family.
Isn't that something? Yeah,
I know,
they
so
were. They were good-looking boys.
Yeah, they were in.
So the money that you earned working, was that your own spending money or did that go to help the family?
I got news for you. Our mother's controlled probably.
Yeah.
Put
I'm
it in
sure.
the bank.
Yeah, no, our mother
Into the
controlled.
family fund?
No, it
in
was
your bank, it was
ours.
yours, but you couldn't spend it.
No, we could not be frivolous with our money at all.
No.
I worked between
No.
11th grade and 12th grade in high school. I was a nanny for the summer, so I worked full-time taking care of Bonnie's son, who was about 1.5 years old, and she paid me $10 a week. That was the going rate at that time, but still, I worked 8 hours a day, almost 9. And Bonnie used to give me $11 on Friday instead of 10 because I would clean her house, and she appreciated that, so she would give me like a tip. So instead of the 10, I got 11. I would bring home my money, and my mom would say, "Here's $1 for you. You put the 10 in the bank." Couldn't spend it.
Yeah, no, we had a bank,
Didn't like
everything.
I know if Ronnie got a raise, she had to give mother more money for room and
Yeah,
board.
I probably stuck around the longest of anybody because I did, I wasn't married till I was 24, I think. I was 24.
No, because I got married a year after you, Ronnie. I was, what, 60 or 26, 27?
No. Oh, when you
When you got married.
No, I was only about 24. I was 24. I think I was 24. Dick
But
was
I got
24.
married a year after you did.
I know it.
And I got married, I was out of high school 2 years, so it was just before my 20th birthday.
Yeah,
So you got married, yeah, you must have been 25.
yeah, I was probably,
25.
okay, because I thought Dick was 25 and I was 24. And so I was in the house longer than the girls were, and I never did move out. I had it good there. Our dad didn't do anything at night, so I was able to even use my dad's car every night. I didn't have to ever own a car. I don't think our mother would have allowed
Mother would
me.
not, that's why I wanted to get married and get out, because I wanted to buy a car. I was
I don't-
working
yeah,
now.
I
And
don't
she
think
says, you
she-
buy a car, you can't park it in this yard, and you
Yeah.
can't park it in front of the
Yeah,
house.
see, I don't think she would have allowed me to buy a car.
No, girls
That
don't
would
buy
have been
cars.
a waste. And so I was, I always had Dad's car at will.
And I really did too.
Yeah, it was not a big issue, so.
And I was gone.
Yeah, and
She was always gone.
Yeah, she was
I was
gone.
gone.
I
I
don't
used
remember
to-
being at home very much.
I used to bowl a lot, and so I needed it to go bowling. I played softball from the time I was in senior in high school, and I had to have a vehicle for that.
Yep.
And the only,
Great stadium every Tuesday.
yeah,
night.
the only thing Mom and Dad did do, they loved to come to the ball games.
Yeah, they did.
And when I played out of state,
We used to go out there.
we'd go out of state too, because those were big,
Our vacations, that's the
Yeah,
farthest we
they
ever
were.
went was Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
yeah.
That
those
was
were-
a big venture.
Those were big,
My vacation growing up was out in Wisconsin on the farm.
well, that was fun.
Yes, it was
That
wonderful.
was fun, I'm sure.
Pick wild blueberries. And,
Sure.
Yep.
I don't remember anything about Wisconsin.
No, I don't either.
No,
Oh,
we
when
have
we
no,
went
I don't
out,
even
we
know
went
where
to
our house
outdoor
is.
movie. It was so neat. Could see
Yeah.
all those fireflies in the pitch black. So
yeah.
that was my vacation, was out there, was out to Weyerhaeuser, Wisconsin. So
You talked about what your dad did. Let's back up a little bit and let's talk about your mom a little bit and what she was like when you were growing up. And she did the selling of the moonshine for
Yeah,
a little
she
extra
did.
change.
Really early
Yeah,
days.
because she never really worked.
no.
As a
No.
young girl before she was married, she worked as a waitress.
And
At
laundry.
Mung
At
And a laundry. She worked in a laundry a
Yeah.
long time.
And they may have worked in a pickle factory.
Oh yes, she
At
did.
Gaffney's.
Yes, she,
Disney's pickle factory was right down by the river on Laurie
yes, she did.
and the river. And it was a big, big factory. And it
She'd
was-
say the pickle would come down the belt, and every
Yeah.
now and then there'd be a dead mouse amongst the pickles.
Well, you
And I
know,
thought, oh, I remember Mom telling
Yeah,
us
and
that.
Vinegar kills everything.
and that pickle factory was there for a long time
Oh,
in our growing
long-
up days. But Mother was not working as
But
a
it was
married
still
woman.
there.
As
Yes.
a married
ever
woman,
remember.
she never worked. No, she
No.
never did. But neither did like Stella.
No,
Stella's
At
no,
that
sister.
time, yeah.
Well, I didn't work for the first 10 years I was married, because that
Yeah,
isn't just,
I didn't
you know, you
either.
had one
Yeah.
car.
Yeah, no,
That's
she
just
didn't.
what
I
you
don't think
did.
our dad wanted her to work.
And Mom always wore a house dress. Always. No
She was not thin.
slacks.
She was heavy.
Yeah.
She was a heavy woman, which you would never believe in the days. Well,
Right.
really. for
Well,
our
Mom
days,
was
yeah.
only about 5'4", and she said she used to weigh about 165 pounds.
Yeah,
And that's
she
pretty
was-
much what she was until I got married. So that was a long time. And then after that, that's when she really got on my health.
And they used
In
to
her
like to
early
dress up
50s,
nice.
and-
They
Oh,
dressed
yes.
up
Oh,
nice.
yeah.
And she decorated her house quite nice.
Mhm.
She'd get fancy drapes that were made.
Oh, she redecorated a lot more than I do.
Yeah, she did, and they steamed off all that wallpaper.
Oh,
Oh, they steamed off all that
with those big
wallpaper.
machines.
But they worked hard, and she would
But
always.
she pretty much always told Dad what to do.
Yeah, he
I mean,
was-
she was the boss. She
He-
was.
Yeah, and she had a fur coat. She made sure she had a fur coat. Dad always looked nice too.
Mm-hmm.
Always wore
He
nice.
was a gentleman. Dad was
Yeah,
a gentleman
and I
with his
said-
little mustache. He looks
Yeah,
like
and
a
she would always wear a hat. We always dressed up for church on Sunday.
We had to wear hats back then.
Yeah,
you had to wear
she was-
something on your head.
she was a
so
good
You didn't
dresser.
get a spanking. You got a look and a squeeze on the arm.
Oh,
Got that black and
yeah.
blue marks, but you got a squeeze on
She
your
was
arm.
a good mom, though.
Yeah.
She was a good mom, and we had good meals always.
Oh yeah, she was a good cook.
She
Yes.
made us cream of wheat and a half of a boiled egg, and cod liver oil had to be
Monday through Thursday.
dropped on
Heck
that top.
no, I had to have a tablespoon of it.
Well, we maybe even had, or at times maybe tablespoons, but
See, I always liked it.
yeah, we
I
always
like grease to this day.
we had cod liver oil always every morning, and she had always had a hot breakfast for us
Yeah.
waiting.
Yep, and on Friday was treat day. You didn't
Yeah.
have to have cooked cereal on that day. You could have a pancake or
Yeah.
a waffle
She
or a
always-
flip flop.
She
That was
always
her.
made breakfast.
Yeah,
What's a flip-flop?
always. Flip flop is like a pannekuchen.
It's a pannekuchen, is what it
But
is.
that's
still
what it
make
was
them.
called back then. And
Yeah.
oh, that was the best.
I
That
still
was
make
always my
those.
Well, even the
choice.
kids to this day remember it because Grandma would make it
Make
for
it
them,
for them.
and they would come
I
over.
still make them.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, I should give you the recipe because it's a good one.
She
Yeah.
was a good cook, but
Yeah.
she rationed her food like she did her money. I mean, you know, if she made a little 8x8 pan of brownies for all of us,
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah.
You know, there's.
And after Rick and I got married, if I gave my mom $1, and then on Sunday we came over and had roast beef and mashed potatoes. and
Every
gravy.
Sunday there was a
Every
big
Sunday.
around our dining room table.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was
roast
ritual.
or, yeah.
Yes.
Always meat and
Yeah.
potatoes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Oh, she
good.
made
No
a
wonder
lot.
it's our favorite.
Oh, she
Yeah.
made marvelous steamed dumplings and chicken.
Chicken gravy.
Oh, it was
yeah.
delicious.
Yeah,
That was
she was a
good.
good cook, and
Yes, she was. Yes,
and
she
that was her thing. So,
Mhm.
yeah. I
And
don't-
she belonged to the Unity House,
Mhm.
and she had lady friends, and they went there. It was just a ladies' meeting place, you know.
Yeah.
But Dad did have to give her a ride. It was past West Broadway.
Well, she didn't drive. No,
No.
the women didn't drive in
No,
those
No,
days.
and they
didn't
did.
drive.
But she belonged to their. She belonged to their.
For
I
a
can't
long
remember the name
time.
of it. At
Yeah.
the Unity House, but her club was called something.
I don't know. I just remember
The
Miss
Unity
Miss
House.
Deanson.
Yeah, it was-
Miss Deanson.
Oh, and Miss Wine.
Wynick.
There was two of them.
Yeah.
They were at my wedding.
Yeah, and so they did. Yeah, that was it was a community thing, and
Yeah.
it was
It
over.
was her night out.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was.
And they like to play cards.
Oh, yeah.
My goodness,
That was her
that's for
life.
sure. When she passed away, we made sure there was a deck of cards in there.
Yeah, yeah.
And we girls started playing cards with Mom.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did do that a lot.
They
500
Were you
being the
little?
game of
Quickly.
choice.
Were you little kids when she taught you how to play
Quickly.
cards?
Yeah.
Well, we played cribbage mostly
Cribbage.
back then.
Yeah, and you know what was in at the time? I was in high school, and I have to sit at that dining room table with canasta.
Canasta.
We played canasta.
I didn't like it, but she did. They did.
It was a fun game, though.
Oh,
But
and that
she
was
had-
new invention
But
back
she had
then.
Albert and Annie. Annie's her sister. They came over, and who else? It wasn't just the four of
Auntie
them.
Annie Shuda, Uncle Joe.
No.
They used to
Uncle
play
Joe, that was
poker.
poker.
That was
Auntie Annie and
poker.
Uncle Joe.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
poker.
Mother played poker with her poker lady friends once.
Oh, yeah, that
That
was
was
every
our-
once a month.
Oh,
Yeah.
and that was for years.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
played
up
poker.
until they just couldn't
Sophie,
get together
Bernice,
anymore.
Stella
because of their
Zelnick,
age.
Auntie Annie, Mrs. Kerner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
Mrs.
that's
Anne
six.
Sophie Anderson, right?
There's about 6, 7 of them.
Yes.
They
And
did
they're
that.
all
Penny
cards.
Annie poker.
And Stella Zelnick, who just passed away a couple weeks ago, was the last
Last to
of
go.
the ladies.
Yeah.
How
So
old was
she
she?
was 91.
93.
Or
Yeah,
93.
Yeah.
So
But they used to have, and it was in the afternoon because they didn't work.
we were in school.
And they did not drive, so in the summertime, I was home from school, and I remember riding the bus with my mom to go over northeast on Cleveland Avenue
That
to
was
get to
Sophie.
Sophie's house,
Yeah.
and I'd have to go out and play by myself while they were in playing poker.
Really?
Uh-huh.
It
Yeah, but
wasn't
that was
easy
just
for them.
part of it, you know.
Well,
I
it wasn't
was
easy for them. They had a hard
They
time
had to
getting
take
around.
buses where they wanted to go,
Uh-huh.
and they did.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I remember. Oh, carts was fun.
Yeah,
Mom
they
was-
did that for years.
Right, and she
And
was very good at having 3 tables of 4, 8. There were 12, all brothers, sisters, and
On a Saturday
on a
night.
Saturday she'd make a big meal, and
Everybody in our family played
Played
cards.
500.
Yeah, so we would have, for us to have 4 tables of 500 was not unusual, and everybody knew how to play well.
yes.
That was also very good.
That was a game
And
of
then,
choice.
Mom and Dad would have them, but everybody eventually would say, how about a card party?
Yep.
And we go to aunts' houses,
And then the cousins started
we were
having it too.
included. We were now included because
So you played
we were later in life.
Rick and I.
This was a little later in life.
when you were little. You just went along and then played
Yeah,
with the cousins.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But then
As
I
we
mean,
all got older,
yeah.
the cousins all played 500.
Yeah.
We even had our turn. We'd have them over
Yeah,
here.
we'd have them at our houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, the aunts and uncles and cousins.
Yeah,
And
we did
It was a
that
lot of fun
we did
doing
a long
that. Yeah.
time. We
That's
did.
why we are super close. With
yes,
family.
Yeah,
We
we
are.
the
Mhm.
cousins
So-
and aunts and uncles and
Do you remember any big trips that you took as kids, either little kids or big kids? You were talking about going to the farm in
That was
Wisconsin.
all, but then after that, nothing. I mean,
We
these
did
they
one
went
time.
more because they
We
went to
went when Dad
North
had his
Dakota.
brand new car, his Oldsmobile. We went, Barbara, where did we go to?
Gooseberry Falls. Went up to Duluth.
We went to Duluth.
We went to
That
Duluth.
was a big trip. That's the biggest trip we really ever took.
Yep.
And we stayed over in a motel.
in a motel, and we went to the movie that night and saw Picnic.
We saw picnics. That's what we saw. Barbara was pretty little, and I was probably in high school already.
Yeah.
And that's where so they must have really planned this big time, because for them it was that was our
To
big
go
trip.
to Duluth for a couple of days was
And our dad at one time went with Uncle Mike to
Arkansas.
Greensboro, Arkansas.
and we heard about that trip all his life.
Right
That's the
to
only trip we
end.
took.
When I was in Greensboro, and I thought Greensboro
Because you know
probably
what?
doesn't even exist anymore.
Didn't a box factory have something down
Yes,
there?
he owned another shop down
Down
there.
there, and so
And they
he
went
and
to
Uncle
see it.
Mikey
Yes.
went down there to see it, and so that's what they.
Mhm.
And that was what we heard about that trip
For
all our
50
life.
years, I swear. But it was still interesting to listen.
Hey,
He just
it was part of his life and part of ours. I don't know how long he was gone. Didn't seem like he was gone long. I don't remember that.
Mm-mm.
Mother had to stay alone. I wonder if that bothered her.
Well, we were home.
Sure.
Yeah, we were home.
Yeah, not me. I don't think
No.
so. I remember.
No,
I
you weren't
remember
ever
it.
No.
I was never at home.
Yeah. Well, Marlene.
She used to set her. I remember when she was. I can pick out a few instances of her being home, and Ricky used to come over some night, and when they were dating, and she'd have to get ready for school the next day or whatever, and she used to have this little dish, little ceramic dish, filled with bobby pins, and she used to open every one of them and stand them on this dish. Keep opening these bobby pins until they went all the way around this dish, and her and Rick would sit on the sofa. She'd have her hair, and she would take and make pin curls.
She
And
did
then
in
take
those
them
days.
off that dish and put them on those pin curls. I remember her doing that. sitting
Well, so
there
we
with
did
her.
in those days. We had to have pin curls.
That was your date.
We see a lot of
Come on
movies.
over and I'll set my hair.
Well, the only time I really got out of this was to go to Duluth. Rick and I went to Duluth even after we got married. We went for a honeymoon. It was about a one-day honeymoon. And I came home because I was lonesome for my mama.
She was too young. There's no doubt.
You were 18?
No,
17.
I was 17.
But you got
I
married in October.
I got married, I was 17 and I would turn 18 in November. I got married in October.
1 month later.
But then I remember we went up to Copper Harbor up in Michigan when Greg was already bigger, and I was going to write a postcard. And I says, Greg, go see the name of this motel. So So he ran outside, he came back and he said, no vacancy.
That's funny.
Well, and what was, we didn't give your mom's full name. What is, does your mom have a middle name?
It's Genevieve Caroline. It was Genevieve Caroline, and it would have been Pepek.
Michael John. Oh,
It would have been Pepek. Dad was
She's a
Michael John.
Pepek. She's not a Shopek. She's a Pepek.
she's a Pepek, which
Yeah.
in Polish, she used to be teased all the time when she was a little girl in school because in
It was
Polish,
spelled
Pepek means belly button.
It was Pimpek.
It
Yeah,
was P-E-M-P-E-K.
And Pimpek is belly button in Polish.
So
she
they
used to
switched
get
it?
teased. Yes.
Well,
And then become
pronunciation
But you
more
know,
than anything.
you didn't do anything legally back then. If you didn't like your name, you just started signing
My
something
dad said some
different.
of his uncles changed their name from Wicherski to White. So,
And you just
know,
start doing it, and you
Yeah.
just become white. Back in those days, if you look at like even abstracts on houses, everything is handwritten. So there was no typewriters. And in the, like with my last name, Zondlo, a lot of our relatives are spelled completely different from us. They have drop letters, or the O look like an A, because everything was handwritten.
Yeah.
And Len, his one dad, relative, didn't like being a Z, so he just started writing S-O-N-D-L-O. Well, then they didn't like Sondlo, so they said, oh, let's make it S-A-N-D-L-O. And just, nothing legal, you just started
Just changed it.
switching it that way.
Because ours was a Ballanger either. We're Ballanger because ours is from the French. And they came down here, the fur traders came down here, and that was part of Rick's family. So his father, Rick's father, was the first baby to be born in a little church on Hennepin Avenue, the Catholic church up at the top of that hill. And so
Our
that's,
Lady of Lourdes?
it's
By
no,
Nice?
yeah, by Nice.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's
Our Lady
right.
of Lourdes.
Okay.
That's
It's
the
the first baby to be born in, baptized in that church.
Ah.
And so that was a long time ago. But they were fur traders, and a lot of Columbia Heights is Ballanger. And there's a lot of history of Ballanger in Columbia Heights. And so, but as far as Daddy's family, we don't know an awful lot.
No.
They were lumberjacks. My dad's family, he had an Uncle John, he's a lumberjack. I remember him coming to the funeral with his plaid shirt and his white suspenders, you know? But I don't remember a lot. I remember going to Grandpa Wicherski's funeral
Yeah.
because I was already in St. Philip's School.
And Dad had
Two sisters
two
and a brother.
sisters, Margaret and Annie, and
Andrew?
Andrew.
Uh-huh.
That's what Dad had.
Yes.
And,
And his father, Theodore, he worked in the junkyard all that time. He worked in the junkyard. He had a heart attack there. That's where he died. And so, but gee, I don't remember anything about Dad's mother. I just,
no, we really don't.
no.
She lived upstairs of Auntie Margaret's.
Yes. All those,
Her daughter,
Oh
she,
yeah, eventually.
you know, eventually. She
After
went up
moving
there,
up
she
one.
was there almost, I remember her just vaguely being on 2nd Street, so I was maybe 10, 12 when she already went to Auntie Margaret's and
Yeah.
lived upstairs in like a little apartment.
Mhm.
Upstairs there, and you walked right out of her little place into their bedroom,
Yeah.
which was upstairs, and Grandma lived there until she was 98 years old,
Yeah.
above her daughter's house with her daughter and son-in-law, and then finally at 98 it was time to go to the nursing home, and she lived another almost 4 years.
Yeah.
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 And as far as Dad, our dad, his boyhood was, I don't remember
Hold
a
on a
lot.
second.
You know, it was